Hi gang, in this video we are finally going to get to use the Excelsior Type 8100. I'm so excited, I can't wait for this. Let's go. Okay, so let's just run through what we've got here before we actually start using the machine. We've got all the tools that came with the cleaner. It's all been serviced and polished up, as you will have seen in a previous video, and now we get to use it, which is fantastic. So, as you know, I don't have the original floor tool with this cleaner, which is a real shame. And again, just a shout out really, if anybody knows where I can get one for it, so it's pretty much complete, that would be fantastic. If you could let me know, I would appreciate it so much. Now obviously, because we don't have the original floor tool, we need to find one that we can use with it. And I thought, as I said in the previous video, that the Lux 90 floor tool would be a good fit for it. And this is the 90s floor tool. So this is the green flip over style. Slightly different to the earlier 65 style. So there were like two versions of this head really. This one, which is the later 90 style, has the larger thread picker. The early 65 one had a much smaller thread picker. It's kind of like that kind of size. It's quite a bit smaller. But this tool is really ideal for this machine, to be honest with you. Obviously it doesn't have quite the correct fitting for the rods, but it seems to work okay. It stays on. These are really heavy floor tools actually. There's quite a lot of metal in these. They are really good quality. Actually probably better quality than what this machine would have had in the first place, to be honest with you, but they are quite similar heads, so that's perfect. What else to say on it? Yeah, just to note, I had to put a cable tie around the top of this rod because the plastic is fractured here, which is a real shame. There's not really much I can do about that. I can't really glue it because the glue would get in the way of the rod going inside, and I think, to be totally honest with you, it would just fracture anyway. Yeah, because it's not very strong. The plastic is not, it's alright quality, it's not the best, to be completely honest with you. And this one, on this rod as well, as we said earlier, in a previous video, it's been really used. That has been scraped against some flooring, and it's kind of worn down in like an angle. So I have to do it this way. So this one has to go into here because there isn't enough plastic left on the end of this one to go into the floor tool. So that's kind of how I have to do it. But it works. They sort of combine together, so that's fine. So let's put this together now. So we put the rods in thusly, and then we can carefully put the 90s floor tool on. You don't want to go too mad with that because I can feel that it's going to break the plastic. Interestingly, the elbow of the 90s tool is actually plastic. I think it's metal on the 65. So that was obviously a cost reduction point for Lux when they went from the 65 to the 90. But yeah, it works fine. Look, it stays on, it's great. That'll go back and forth. And this one stays in, which is awesome. And then obviously we can put the bent end in to the top. This hose is really, what's the word? I suppose unwieldy, I suppose is the best way to put it. It's very stiff, it's not very flexible at all. It does have a rotational point at the machine end, and it kind of like rotates twice, so it rotates it in the eyeball slightly, not massively, but it does have a rotation here on this cuff, so that's good. It makes it much easier to use because, as I say, like I'm kind of struggling to get this hose in the right place here. I do love this bent end though. It brings back so many memories of seeing this going down the toilet. It really brings them back. I will just say, because this is kind of like a Lux woven hose, it's starting to fail here at this point where the weight of the hose meets the bent end, which is a shame. You can feel the air starting to leak out here. It's not terrible, but you can feel it and you can just hear it as well when the machine's in use. So if I pop that in there, like so, that is a really good fit, that bit. And then, yeah, it's fine. It works. It all stays in, so that's perfect. Yeah, perfectly usable. I think what we'll do as well, whilst we're here, we'll put the machine down and we will insert the little prolapse, this little bag. So, God, it really does surprise me at how thin that material is. I think one of my dear viewers said, it is a filter and it's meant to catch the carbon dust, but how on earth it catches anything is beyond me, because you can see through it. I can see the trees through it because there's a window behind you and I can see through, so there's a lot of light, but yeah, I can just see straight through it. So the little prolapse bag is really not doing very much at all, but we'll put it in because we've got it. Is that in right? Oh, hang on. Yeah, there we go. So we've got a little prolapse in place there. Yeah, and that's that. So I think we will change the position of the camera and we'll go through, we'll set the machine up and we'll actually do some vacuuming with it. Let's have a look. Well, there we go. It works really, really well. It's not a huge amount of suction, but then I think it's only like a 575 watt motor, so it's not really, really powerful. I did have to be quite careful with using it then on this rug. The 90s floor tool doesn't really slide particularly well over this kind of carpet. It's quite stiff to push. It's not so much the suction that's holding it down, it's just the resistance of the pile. And these rods are not very strong. That is obviously why the rods are broken in the past, because there's not a great deal of structural strength here. These are quite cheap rods, which is a pity. I think it would do much better if it had a metal rod. That would probably be the best way to do it. In fact, I probably should have used the 90s rod with it. The bent end is fine, it's just these two rods are very flimsy. You can feel them bending as you're pushing. But overall, no, I'm quite pleased with it actually. Here, let's have a quick look inside whilst we're here. Let's remove the hose without knocking everything over. And it's quite cool to see the Swivel-Eye working as well. It's actually surprisingly effective. It does seem to do its job. As I said previously to you, it's a bit of a gimmick, but it does work. It's quite surprising. So let's whip the front off. I don't think we'll see a great deal of dirt in here, but we might see something. Oh yeah, look, yeah. We've got something going on here. We've got some cat hair, which is what I would expect to see. So it's all been caught there. So yeah, that's good. You can actually see down in the bag there, because it's such a massive opening. So yeah, so the machine is working perfectly. And now it's just going to go into my collection and enjoy a well-earned retirement. There is just one thing I'd like to ask you guys. I've done a bit of research on this cleaner on the web, and I found out that it was possibly made in 1966, or that they came onto the market in 66. Very hard for me to say that. And I guess that kind of makes sense, because it looks quite 60s, doesn't it? It's quite a 60s style. But I'm personally pretty sure that my grandmother bought her Kenwood version in the 1970s. And I suspect that Kenwood went to the Excelsior company and said, can you make us a vacuum cleaner? And they said, yeah, we've had this one on the market for 10 years now. We can knock it out cheap for you. We can paint it blue, put some white or cream ends on it, slap Kenwood on the side, and then you can sell it as your own cleaner. So I suspect that's what happened there. But yeah, this is like a grey. It's a grey paint with, I don't know if the plastic is faded or not, but yeah, I'm pretty sure from the pictures I've seen from my memory that my Grand's Kenwood was blue with lighter ends, but it was this cleaner, and this is the exact same one that Auntie Mean had in Holland. This is absolutely spot on. It's the same one. So if you guys can confirm for me what year this machine was, this 8100, I would appreciate that massively. And also, if you've got any information on the Kenwood version as well, if you could leave that in the comments, because I'd really like to know. But that's it for the moment. There we go. The Excelsior is working, and it's working great, and I'm really, really happy to have it. So I'm very, very pleased. But I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to have next, but yeah, I'll have to go and dig something out. So don't forget to do the usual: comment, subscribe, and like. I always love hearing from you guys. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.